witches. So today's topic comes from one of my amazing patrons, Dorian. Thank you so much for suggesting this. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it. I had a couple of other things planned and then I saw this beautiful comment. So today we're going to be talking about books of shadows. What are they and what to put in them? So to review, I do have a video about books of shadows from like the first month that I did this. So I cringe to look back at it. But basically, to review, a book of shadows is a book where witches keep information. Now this can be like a journal, it could be online. I'm kind of using this as my digital book of shadows slash grimoire. Now the difference. A book of shadows is a place where you put like feelings and notes about your spellcraft generally. And a grimoire is kind of where you put like base information. So, and actual spell work. So I, being the kind of person I am, have like combined them because I think it's more efficient. And here's why. I believe that if you are going to put work into making a book and using it in your spirituality, it's almost like a holy text, right? And you're creating it, therefore it's divine. Unlike my experience with Christianity, which I apparently can't stop talking about, I found that like there was a lot of information in the Bible, but it didn't really have like personal anecdotes, which I think is fine. But your practice isn't an organized religion, so like you can add other things there. I think that it makes sense to have a spell written out and like what your feelings are about it right next to it. Like I feel like that just makes more sense. So you're not like cross-referencing a bunch of books and you're like, oh yeah, when did I do that? Like what? Now, obviously, as you work on your book of shadows or your grimoire, which are terms I use like kind of interchangeably just because to me they are the same. And honestly, like for a really long, like for the first 5 years of my craft, didn't realize there was a difference. So I just call it a book of shadows. That's just what it is. To me, I think it just like makes the most sense to have both of them combined. But as you do carry on with your practice, you will probably need like a secondary journal to write down, you know, other experiences, other things like dreams, messages, tarot. So that is totally cool. I just feel like for me, it makes the most sense for me to have everything together. Now, there are people who do have like 3-ring binders as their books of shadows, yes, or grimoires, which I think is also really cool because you can add pages and take them out at will. However, I am that kind of person who wants like the leather book that just like opens and is like really heavy and stuff. So I thought I would walk you through how I'm going to organize my book of shadows at the end of the year, because if this is your first video, I am doing the Year of the Witch, which is what this whole series is called, in order to like populate basically a grimoire or a book of shadows for myself, by not forcing myself, but keeping myself accountable for like actively researching witchcraft things and then like actively writing it down and sitting down and doing this. It's an avenue for me to broaden my practice and I'm actually really excited. I have never been able to have an actual physical book because it's either been thrown away, lost, damaged in some way, or just like torn up in front of me. So this is the time that I am stepping into my own and I'm gonna make a kick-ass book of shadows. Anyways, like I said, I really want like a tome, like an ancient manuscript, because that's just the kind of person I am. And I kind of want to also make it like a junk journal with like washi tape and stickers and like markers and pictures and stuff like that. I've been following a lot of like junk journal like Instagrams and I just like love them. There is one, I think it's called the Besom Hair. I'm gonna link it. I think that's the name. I discovered it like honestly this morning and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was almost late to work. It was a whole thing. But I really like what they've done and that is the aesthetic I would like to achieve. Will I achieve it? I sure hope so. And I want to take my time to do this. So if I'm taking a whole year to film the content and do the research, I want to take at least that long to finish the book. So by the end of 2022, guys, keep an eye out. So anyways, once I acquire this leather-bound book, which I'm hoping to find at one of the 2 Renaissance festivals I'm going to this year. I missed one last year. I gotta make up for it. But within that book, I'm going to obviously start out with an introduction and a dedication. I am charging this book and telling it what it is for. And it is to keep my secrets, to keep my knowledge, and to guide me on my path. So that's really what that's here for. After that, there'll probably be a table of contents because I like that. And I like being able to quickly reference stuff without having to like flip through. I'm like, where did I put that? So table of contents, you don't have to have it if you don't want to, but I do recommend leaving like a page or 2 blank if you do want one, just in case it runs off, or you know, whatever. So The next thing that I would put is like basic information regarding my path as I see it like today. And now I think that it is good to document what your path is like in the moment, and then as you continue on with your path, it's kind of nice to look back and see like where you started and like where you are now, which I think is cool. I don't know, it's kind of like a time capsule, and I think that's really neat. You don't have to do that, it's just something that I'm doing. And then after that, I kind of want to put some general information about witchcraft, so like some history, maybe a poem, or like about, you know, the ancestry of witchcraft, the people that I like see myself. Sorry, I got an emergency notification. Apparently there's a tornado. Super great. But anyways, I wanted to put some general information about like witchcraft, maybe some poetry in honor of the ancestry of witches who came before me, which I know I'm not linked to by blood, but I do see as like a group of people that I identify with, and I'm very thankful for forging the way for me to be able to practice to this day. And just like a letter of thanks basically to you know, my witchy ancestors, so to speak. The next thing after that, I'm actually going to get into practical witchcraft, so I would start listing my correspondences, so like colors, directions, zodiac signs, and my personal birth chart probably I will put in there. Crystals and crystal magic, maybe the science behind crystals. Then, because I am kind of a hedge witch, I want to put herb magic and like herbal correspondences that particularly like I use a lot in my craft. So one of the herbs I use a lot is rosemary, so I would make a whole page about that. I did a whole like herb month, so those will all be going into my personal book of shadows, probably a couple other things, but we'll see when we get there. The next after that is going to be protection magic. Like I want a whole section about that because it's really central to my craft. So in that, I'll be documenting my cleansing ritual, my warding rituals, and protective magics. Any video I have done about protective magic, talismans, wards, house guardians, anything like that, will go in that section basically. Next are going to be moon phases and moon magic. So we just finished a whole month of moon phases and moon magic type stuff. And well, actually that was like that was in July. So it's been longer than that. So anyways, it'll be moon phases and moon magic, and like how I felt, and maybe a spell that goes with each phase of the moon. So it'll be like moon and moon correspondences, and like an illustration, and then like a spell to go with that phase of the moon. So there's that. Then following that will probably be like all of the major arcana, because I did spend a whole entire month on that, as well as some of the minor arcana, and like I probably will use like a lot of tarot imagery, because I really like tarot imagery, so it's really cool. Following that will probably be my deity work. So that will include a description and image of all of my deities right now. I'm gonna leave a couple pages blank in that section, just to add in case I attract another deity, which it would be crazy. The way by attract, I don't mean like, hey, I just mean like they notice me, which is a lot for me to deal with right now because I already have 5 and it's so much. But anyways, it would be full of like their offerings, their symbols, a prayer to them, their mythology, and just like personal anecdotes about my work with them and what they have helped me with, and how I would like to see our relationship, like our working relationship, to go. Following that will be any sort of general spellcraft that I have talked about for the last couple months. Just anything that has to do with like self-care or setting up altars. There'll be pictures of that, pictures of the way I'm transforming this room, I think, definitely. And then finally at the back will be room for notes. So that's also super duper important for me to have. I like to like scribble things down. And before that, also, probably before deity work and between moon magic and tarot somewhere, I do want to have like a series for the Wheel of the Year that talks about each holiday. So I forgot to mention that. I forgot to write it down because I wrote this script really late last night. But I do want that to be part of my Book of Shadows Grimoire. I do want for like Letha and Lunasa and Maven and Samhain, I do want to have like pictures of like my little witchy group. I think it would be really nice to have, and like talk about my experience organizing events for the first time and all of that. So yes, lots of things to put into a Book of Shadows. I would say like my biggest advice for people who are like curious as to what to put into a Book of Shadows, I would just say like whatever you want. I know that sounds like such bad advice, and I hope you can kind of learn from my examples, but to be fair, it is your practice. So like you can see I didn't really mention anything about like sigils or like runes or anything, because like I don't like work with that in my practice. I'm not a Norse pagan, so therefore I don't use the Elder Futhark, and I don't really write in runes. I can't read them, and I feel like it's going to be a lot for me to have to learn it. So, and I don't really make a whole lot of sigils. So that's just like my personal practice. If you do, add a whole section about that, whatever you want to do. If you don't work with deities, why would you have a deity section? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So it really has to do with like what you want to put into it. I personally am putting information and feelings. So yeah, it's getting dark in here. I gotta go soon because I am running out of light. But also I feel like we've covered this pretty well. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.